Welcome, everyone. Dr. Hart and the board will be with us shortly. For those of you that just joined us, Dr. Hart and the board will be with us shortly. Just be patient. Thank you. Hello again. We're just waiting on Dr. Hart and the board.
Sounds good. Thanks for being here to guide us through all of this.
You are welcome.
There's so many people. All right. So it is 7:06, and we're going to return to public. Do we have our board members? Tom, Ray. Yes, we're good. Okay. Can I get a motion to return to public session, please?
So moved, Tom.
Tom, and who was it? Second?
Seconded, Carolyn.
Carolyn. All right, thank you. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert.
Here. Yes.
Rob McCallan.
Here.
Carolyn
Yes,
Pogorski.
quick one.
Here.
Andrew Saunders.
Here.
Tom Swallis.
Here.
Eric Rolling.
Here.
Carol Hampel.
Here.
Laura Simon.
Here. Okay, I need a motion to nominate and appoint board member for our vacant position.
So moved, Ray.
Right.
Second, Carol.
Here. And would someone like to nominate?
Sure, this is Carol. I would like to nominate Anthony Emmons for the position of board member. Am I supposed to be reading something?
I don't think so. Jason, do we need a second or we just vote?
I would do a second just because of the bylaw.
Okay. Would someone like to second?
Second, Tom.
All right. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert.
Yes.
Rob McCallan,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Swirling,
Yes.
Carol Hampel,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
At this time, I would like to thank the candidates that came forward. We had very, very strong candidates. It was a very tough decision. And that being said, I encourage all of you, actually all of the board as a whole encourages you to apply again if there's another vacancy, or apply. I believe the forms are due around July unless they change that timeline again. But then you would be on the ballot in November. But we highly recommend that you come back, because you were really all strong candidates. And thank you so much for coming forward. Okay, we wish you well. We need the oath of office now, Jason.
Anthony, if you don't mind unmuting if you're on the line.
Sure, I'm here, present. And thank you.
Congratulations. So I'm going to read the oath of office to you. You have to essentially repeat after me. Please note that during the board meeting, after we swear you in, you will be able to vote. So I will be calling your name during our roll calls. If you haven't read the agenda, or you just feel uncomfortable voting on anything, given you haven't had privy to the privacy documents that we have, you can always abstain during votes for this meeting before we set you up and get you trained for the next meeting. But if you could repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Anthony Emmons,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I
will
bear true faith and allegiance
to
the same
the same,
and to the governments established in the United States
and to the governments established in the United States
and this state
under
the authority of the people. I state your name.
I, Anthony Emmons,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of Member of Board of Education, have never been convicted of a crime or offense listed in statute, and have not been disqualified as a voter pursuant to regulations, and that I will faithfully, impartially, and justly perform all duties of that office according to the best of my ability. Congratulations. Welcome
Thank
to
you
the
very
board.
much. All right.
Welcome.
Okay. Thank you. Happy to join the team. Thank you very much.
All right, now we have the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mrs. Simon. Anthony, first off, welcome to the Board of Education. Welcome to the team. It'll be great to have you. And I'm sure we'll be seeing and talking a lot more lately, coming up. My first item under the superintendent's report is the White House School Highlight. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. DeRosa and DJ Catalano, PE teacher from White House School. Tonight, they will review with our board members some of the protocols that we put into place to create a really comprehensive physical education program amid our hybrid learning in the global pandemic. So I'll turn it over to Dr. DeRosa and Mr. Catalano.
Great, thank you for having us. And I also want to mention we are joined by
our district supervisor for math, science, technology, and physical education, Miss Sarah Pouch. And Sarah is an amazing support to teachers and principals. There she is. But she's so humble, she wanted a behind the scenes role tonight. So she is going to be managing our slides. And speaking of slides, I think the Board of Education members received our slideshow in advance. And we will post it for the public on the White House School website tomorrow. There are a few short video clips embedded in the slideshow, but sometimes they're hard to play a video in a streaming meeting. So if you have any interest after tonight, you can see those on the website tomorrow, White House School. So I wanted to start by giving you a little bit of background. I know that everyone was well aware that last spring we were sent home by order of the governor, and we went from a fully in-person instructional model to fully remote. And so that had an impact on our physical education program in the spring. So when it came time for Ms. Pouch and I to hire a new physical education teacher, there was a lot of uncertainty surrounding what would be expected. Some of our questions were like, what if we're still fully virtual? How would you approach it? What if we're in a hybrid model? What if we have to remain socially distant? So that is when we met Mr. Catalano. He interviewed very well, and he brought with him great ideas. So I'll give you a little bit of background on Mr. Catalano. He began he's a former Rutgers football coach. He gave that up to pursue a teaching degree. And right now we're happy to have him as our physical education teacher at White House School. And he also serves as the defensive coordinator for the Somerville High School football team. So he has a local tie there too. He comes to us with 5 years of experience at the middle school and high school level, but we are thrilled to have him on Team White House. The children just adore him. And if you haven't met him, and you see him in person, he stands about 6'4", so he is our very own kindergarten cop. So welcome aboard, DJ. So we'll begin our slideshow. I'll tell you, the opening slide says, what does PE look like in the fall of 2020 at White House School in a hybrid model? Well, our program was driven by the governor's orders, the newest orders that came in the summer of 2020. We found out then that physical education would still be mandatory, that we would have to adhere to social distancing requirements, and that there could be no shared equipment. So just that alone brought a lot of new challenges to us. So the next slide, I'll talk about how we approached it. It took a lot of creative problem solving, I think, during a global pandemic to try to meet the requirements. So at White House School, what we did, we have shortened days and a lot of children coming through, and we wanted to offer all in-person children half of their PE requirement in person. So in order to see all of the children on an AB 2-day-a-week schedule, we turned the art teacher into a co-teacher under the direction of the physical education teacher. So thank you, Mrs. Dana Piero. So she partners with DJ Catalano, and we combine classes, 2 classes at a time. And that's how we are able to meet the in-person requirement. If you look at the T chart on the screen, in person, as I mentioned earlier, we remain socially distant. There's no shared equipment. And Mr. Catalano makes sure that he sanitizes equipment that is used in between, or even quarantines it afterward. He'll talk to you a little bit more about that. And then half of the requirement is met in person, but they also have work to do at home. Once a week, they have to submit a virtual activity, an entry in their virtual log, describing which activity they have completed in the virtual gym that Mr. Catalano has developed. So they have an activity log, and then they also have an option. Flipgrid is a video response platform where children can send a video clip to Mr. Catalano, either showing him what they're doing or responding to a question, or even sharing with him an idea or an experience that they've had. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Catalano now.
Okay, well, just want to say thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. So far, it's been awesome. So when we look at in-person PE, it may look different, but we're still having a lot of fun. Safety is the number one priority. So we're sanitizing equipment, we're staying socially distant, and are outdoors as much as possible. To the right, all the way to the right, it was a video that will be posted tomorrow when we put it on the website of a game called hula hoop toss. And it was a game we played the other day, and students would have their own hula hoop and they'd be spread out in an outdoor setting. You see the picture in the middle. Students have their own squad spot where they're all 6 feet apart, socially distanced. And we're, like I said, we're constantly sanitizing and quarantining equipment. So when you get to the virtual components of PE, that's where it gets really a little creative. So every student has a PE Google Classroom where they can find the virtual gym. And I'll go over that in a little bit. Students will do the activities found in the virtual gym and then log their activities in a Google form. Now, after that, students will have the option to share videos of themselves performing those activities, and we use Flipgrid as our platform.
So Mr. Catalano developed this virtual gym that he'll show you in a moment, but it's really amazing to me. He's developed 8 portals in the virtual gym with 133 possible selections for children. So student choice is a major tenet in Mr. Catalano's program. As you're looking on the screen, he has a portal for challenges and games, dance, yoga with core activities, basketball, soccer, fitness, recreational, and even a seasonal portal that he just switched from Halloween to Thanksgiving. I'll let him now take you through his gym, and I'll mute myself.
Okay, so when you enter the Google Classroom, there's a link to the virtual gym, and this is what you see. I created the virtual gym by inserting pictures and Bitmojis that I found online onto blank Google slides. So it all started from just a blank Google slide. I would then add links to those pictures so that when you click on an object, it will take you to an activity portal where students have options to choose different activities. So for example, if you click on the trophy, that would take you to challenges and games portal. And these games really reinforce locomotor and manipulative skill development, such as throwing, catching. The games are tiered and organized by skill level. So students can self-assess their abilities and choose to do different activities that match their skill levels. The games also focus on goal setting and promote student improvement. If you click the back button and you go to the stereo, that would bring you to dance activities. And these dance activities will not only promote gross motor skills and cardiovascular fitness, but also develop movement concepts focusing on rhythm, skill combination, and spatial awareness. Again, these activities are tiered by skill levels, and students have the ability to choose what they want and can self-identify what activities they can do. So if you click the yoga mat, the yoga and core activities really complement our whole SEL initiative, what we're trying to do in the district. Students will be able to choose between meditation, yoga stretches, and core strengthening activities. When you click on the dumbbell set, that brings us to the fitness portal, and which not only engages students in physical activity, but more importantly, it promotes physical literacy, where students will understand the benefits of being active, as well as recognize how certain movements and the intensity of those movements affect their bodies. So, and once again, those activities are tiered by skill and fitness level. When you click on the basketball, you're going to get activities that are focused on manipulative skills specific to the game of basketball. So really, students will be doing drill work for 3 basic basketball skills: dribbling, passing, and shooting. And when you go back and you click on the soccer, it's very, very similar to basketball. It's focused on the manipulative skills specific to the game of soccer. And just like basketball, the 3 basic skills are dribbling, passing, and shooting. If you go to the back, you'll see the Under Armour logo, and that will bring you to recreational activities. This portal is less specialized in specific skills and concepts. Rather, it encourages students to find activities they enjoy and can participate in for the rest of their lives, promoting physical wellness. After that, the last one, but not least, is our seasonal. And right now, we just finished Halloween, and now we're into Thanksgiving. So these are all brand new. These are fun activities, and they incorporate all the other portals, but have a theme of the current season. It gives the students some new activities to choose from, and it keeps them engaged and festive in where we are. So, yeah. There's a couple of videos, some examples. So right here would be an example from our challenges in games portal. It's a game called Bowl Bowl. So students would click on it, they would play the video, and then they would attempt to play the game. And the next slide would show a video of Jack participating in the Bowl Ball game, and they share them on Flipgrid. The next one is from our yoga and core activities, and it's just a 10-minute ab workout for kids. And what's great about this video is that it not only shows them the workouts that they're going to do, how to do them, but it also has a timer for them. So it tracks them as they're going. So the next slide would show Jacob doing 6-pack abs. And let me tell you, this was a great video.
Is there any way we could try to show it, because his sneaker falls off and he keeps going?
I watched the video and I was like, what happened to his foot, before I saw what happened.
So he's doing mountain climbers right now, and eventually his shoe just falls off, but he just keeps going anyway.
And what you can see tomorrow if you watch it is he's narrating everything he's doing. It's adorable.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
And, thank you so much for having me. I'm really proud to be here at Reddington. And, I'm committing to making fitness important, but fun as well. And so far, it's been great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Dr. DeRosa, Mr. Catalano, Ms. Pouch, I know you're here too. And, we want to thank you all for the support and the guidance that we provided with our students as far as PE is concerned over at White House School. Are there any questions from the Board of Education for Dr. DeRosa or Mr. Catalano or Ms. Pouch?
Yes, this is Eric Swirling. I have a quick one. First of all, Daniel, thank you. You've done a phenomenal job. I do just have one question on the website. The Under Armour logo, did we get a grant from them, or is there some reason to have a commercial logo on the website?
No, that was just, I'm a big Under Armour fan, and I needed something for rec activities, and I thought it would look good in the virtual gym.
Do we have any policy on putting, I mean, that may imply some sort of endorsement from the district or the board. It's something that might be considered.
I guess we'll have to look into
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, we could look into that, Dr. DeRosa. So it might need to be.
Phenomenal website. It's gorgeous and very exciting.
I think, Mr. Catalano, what you're saying is it just looked cool.
Right.
Right.
I'm a big Under Armour fan. If you see me, I have Under Armour all time.
Thank you so much.
I just want to add that's fantastic, and what a great way to get the kids engaged from home. I would actually love to see it shared if we could. I mean, that's just from having a young one at home, that's a great way to keep them engaged. I love it. Great job.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I also think it was really, really great job. And I'm just wondering how we could continue to use it once we're all back in school. It would be a great thing to continue to use. I don't know if you've had any thoughts or plans for continuing its use beyond the quarantines.
Well, I know tracking is something that's really important to me, especially, and I've had experience tracking data from students, especially from a fitness level. So that is one way. And just like when kids submit their activity logs, we're tracking them. So yes, I think that we can definitely use it, especially for enrichment ideas as well.
Great.
And certainly over the summer, maybe that could be some sort of a competition for who logs the greatest hours. I mean, I wouldn't say that the prize should be a pizza, because I think that would be quite opposite the goal here. But nonetheless, we could figure out some, ask some local business if they can think of some, gym membership or whatever, something to that effect. Some kids love competition.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I would love to see it continue being used even beyond this initial, COVID state. Great job to all.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for your help, and definitely we'll look for ways to use it beyond pandemic times. I mean, there's a lot of things that we've learned in education over the past several months that we really have to sit and reflect on to see what we keep, when we come back to school in person. So thank you so much, Dr. DeRosa, Mr. Catalano, Ms. Pouch. Really appreciate your time tonight. You're welcome to stay. Feel free to stay if you'd like. But we'll move on to talking a little bit more about COVID-19 and some current protocols. So I'm going to share my screen as well. Okay. So what I'm going to share with you tonight, here we go. Jason, are you able to see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The name of this presentation is Close Contacts, Quarantine, HIPAA, Baseline Health. What does it all mean in an era of COVID-19? What this presentation is really intended to do is take what we developed as our plan back over the summer, and now that we're in school and living our plan, it's about the things that we've learned in our implementation of our Reddington Ready plan. So tonight we're going to talk about these topics in a little bit more detail and some of the things that we've done to take our plan from theory and to then put it into practice in our schools. So tonight we'll review the following topics. We're going to talk about some various precautions being taken in school, and I'll show you some pictures of the precautions in schools. What are the risk factors? We'll talk about close contacts and household contacts, defining those key terms. We'll go into more detail about a 14-day quarantine and under what circumstances can a quarantine end. We'll review HIPAA and when information can be shared. We'll talk about contact tracing, which is really woven throughout the presentation when we talk about close contacts and household contacts. And for the staff, we'll focus on reporting to work or school, and for students too, and what this federal FFCRA law is designed for our employees, or how it was designed for our employees. So first, some of these pictures are a review. Some of them are updated a little bit. This just shows a sample of main offices in our buildings, just pictures that I was able to take in my travels throughout the buildings. So you'll see that all of our main offices are outfitted with some sort of plexiglass barrier between the office staff and any visitors that do come in the office. One of the offices is decorated for the fall. So these are some safety measures that are in classrooms, and some of the pictures we had taken prior to school opening. So some of these pictures are actually updated. So the top left-hand corner shows you a teacher's station in her classroom. And two things I want to point out about what we have available for teachers in their station. So first, you'll see on the floor, there's a red demarcation line. That red line lets the teacher know when she's behind that line, she is 6 feet away from the closest student in her classroom. When she goes across that line to, let's say, assist a student or talk with a student or meet a student, that's her indication so that she knows that she's moved across that line and now she's within 6 feet. That 6 foot distance becomes important when we talk about contact tracing. You'll also notice at the teacher station that she has her set up behind a movable, foldable plexiglass barrier that can go with her to that station or to a table. And that's the station where she has her computer set up, where she does her simultaneous virtual learning for students at home. And from there is where she can also interact with students who are in her classroom. The picture below it is kind of hard to see, but there's a type of plexiglass that we purchased for small group instruction areas. And that picture demonstrates what a teacher's station may look like if she's meeting with a small group. So the teacher would be on one side of the plexiglass barrier and a student would be on the other side. And we're explaining to teachers to meet with small groups, likely no more than 2 students at a time, and use their barriers to separate themselves from the students and the students from each other, and to ensure they monitor that these small group meetings happen in short durations of time. Again, back to the contact tracing and the amount of time you're with students. The middle picture shows a middle school classroom, desks 6 feet apart, and the upper right picture shows the same thing, desks 6 feet apart. It's difficult to see in these pictures, but you'll see that there is a small mark on the floor that shows you where the desk's feet should be in order to keep the desks in the position so that they're 6 feet apart. You'll also notice in the top right position, you'll see some color-coded cards on the desks, and that's something that the teachers use, on their A day, B day rotation. And the bottom right picture in the classroom shows a diverter to divert the air in an interior classroom so that the air isn't blowing across the classroom. The air is actually being diverted up so that it falls gently down the classroom, as to avoid having aerosols move across the room, or air move across the room, thus carrying aerosols. The board has likely seen these pictures before, some safety measures on the bus, hand sanitizer on the bus, as well as, which is on the left-hand or right-hand side, excuse me, as well as some additional masks in case a student, has a mask mishap at the school bus stop. And then on the other side, the left-hand side, the big orange container is our electrostatic sprayer, which is used in between runs, as well as wipes to wipe down the seats of the bus. So when we talk about all of these safety measures, we know that, educating students in a pandemic does have some inherent risk. And as we know as a district, we've had 2 positive cases, one particular school that we let our community know about. But the question becomes, once a positive case is identified, what happens, right? What does close contact mean, or what does contact tracing mean? So this is a really nice graphic from the Department of Health. And at the top, it talks about the definitions of close contact, quarantine, and isolation. And we have another slide to talk about them. I do want to point out that the definition of close contact on this slide is an individual who is within 6 feet of an infected person for at least 15 minutes. The CDC has updated that to be within 15 cumulative minutes over a 24-hour period. So that's the definition of close contact when the Department of Health is doing contact tracing. Quarantine is keeping someone who might have been exposed to COVID-19 away from others, and isolation keeps someone with COVID-19 away from others, even in their own home. And we'll talk about what it means to have a positive case in a home. So moving from my left to right, person A is the positive case. They've tested positive for COVID-19. It's determined through contact tracing, and contact tracing involves an interview with the Department of Health, that person A was in contact with person B, meaning they met the definition of being within person B, which is within 6 feet for at least 15 cumulative minutes over a 24-hour period. So person A must isolate themselves from others. So quarantine, meaning not coming to work, but also isolation, meaning identify a place in their home where they can isolate themselves from family members. So person A is quarantined from school and isolated in the home, hopefully from others. So person B is the person that's doing some thinking there, wondering, well, am I at risk? Well, the Department of Health has determined that a close contact, coming in contact with someone for within 6 feet for 15 cumulative minutes over a 24-hour period or more, may have a medium risk. Therefore, person B is quarantined. They must stay at home, practice social distancing, and monitor their symptoms for 14 days. Now, the question becomes, person C, right? They're the contact of the contact. They may be someone in the household who's living with person B. They may be someone who was in contact with a close contact. In other words, they weren't in direct contact with person A, but they have contact with person B. So what does it mean for them? So person B was not in close contact. They are a contact of the close contact. They have no restrictions unless, and here's the caveat, unless person B, the person who they've had a close contact with, develops symptoms or tests positive for COVID-19. So person C is not at any increased risk unless person B develops symptoms or tests positive for COVID-19. So there's often that question of staff members may ask, well, if there's a positive case in the family, a parent tests positive, well, that means students may have been coming to school. They're the contact, right? They are the close contact. They're person B, is the students that come into school. Well, the teacher who comes in contact with that student is person C. There's no restrictions on that teacher unless we find out from the Department of Health that person B has developed symptoms or tested positive, and then we would contact the teacher or person C. So once you're in quarantine or you're a close contact, what happens? So the Department of Health has put together these guidelines for us. So the easiest thing to remember is stay at home, practice social distancing, monitor for your symptoms. Do all of the appropriate hygiene that we've been encouraging staff, students, and families to do over the course of our time battling COVID-19, which is make sure you wash your hands and use hand sanitizer as well. When it comes to testing, the Department of Health says, well, if you are person B, right, you've come in close contact, that's really up to you and your doctor. You may want to for some sort of peace of mind, and that's something that you would need to talk to your doctor about. The key with when you're in quarantine and you've been identified as a close contact, the true key is really to monitor your symptoms. If you develop symptoms, that's when you definitely want to have a test, and that's when you certainly want to contact your doctor. If you don't develop symptoms, you can come out of quarantine after 14 days. So one of the questions we sometimes get is, can I get tested while I'm in quarantine? Yes, you can, but I would only recommend, and the CDC only recommends, and the Department of Health only recommends that you do that in conversation with your doctor. The Department of Health also says that if you are identified as that close contact, you should wait 3 to 5 days after your potential exposure to then get tested for COVID-19. And then finally, if you get tested and you're negative, does that mean you can get to come out of quarantine earlier than 14 days? And the answer to that is no. So the Department of Health says that COVID-19 takes an average of 5 days for symptoms to develop, but it could take up to 14. So yes, 5 days is probably the day that you want to get tested after you've come in contact with someone, but symptoms may not develop until 14 days. So you want to give yourself that longevity of that 14-day quarantine to ensure that you are healthy and can return to work and can return to daily life. So make sure that you stay at home, wear your mask, maintain social distancing, and ensure you stay home for those 14 days and you cannot test out of quarantine. So close contact versus household contact, and quarantine versus isolation. So close contact, the definition, like I mentioned before, is when you're within 6 feet of an individual who tests positive for COVID-19 for 15 cumulative minutes over a 24-hour period, which is the new CDC definition. I've also come to understand through contact tracing, the Department of Health is still talking about a lower bar, which is 10 minutes. So based off of their interview with someone, they may also ask about a 10-minute bar too. This is the official CDC definition, but the Department of Health in New Jersey is also asking some questions about 10 minutes worth of exposure as well. Our household contact is a close contact, but in the household. So that's when the positive case is in the household. Let's say it's a parent in the household. That positive COVID-19 case is recommended to isolate and avoid any contact with other members of the household. And here's why. When that household member becomes COVID positive, all of those close contacts that live within the household are under a 14-day quarantine, but they're under that 14-day quarantine after their last exposure with the household contact. Meaning, if a person develops COVID-19, a parent in a household develops COVID-19, let's say, for example, and on day one, that parent isolates him or herself from the rest of the family, the 14-day clock starts. But let's say on day 5, the parent has to come out of quarantine and has close contact with the children because the parent has to make them dinner, the parent has to drive the children to a doctor's appointment or something like that. The 14-day clock starts again. So it's the date of which your last contact is with the close contact in the household or the household contact. So this could be within the 10-day period that the positive person has to isolate themselves. And if on day 10, the household members are in contact with that positive case, that might mean another 14 days beyond. So what's the difference between quarantine and isolation? So quarantine is staying away from others. The 14-day quarantine is necessary for close contacts. Isolation, and that's not going out to the grocery store, going to school. Isolation is what happens within the home. So that is keeping someone within the home away from the others that are also in the home, in a separate room, in a separate space, so that there is no household contact, meaning no close contact within the home. And then this is posted on the BOE website and will be posted on our homepage. There is a nice quick CDC video about household contacts and close contacts. So when a positive case is developed, we have to remember that we're guided by HIPAA, and this is the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. These are national standards that protect sensitive patient health information from being disclosed without the patient's consent or knowledge. What HIPAA does is it restricts the school district from disclosing any medical information about a staff member or a student. And I have to say, with the cases that we've had in our schools, I have to say our school community really does respect the HIPAA laws, meaning our schools really do understand, and our parents and our community really understood that there's a limitation to what we can share. When we do this, we will send letters out to the school community regarding positive COVID-19 cases, but we will have to put limited information about these cases. In other words, the community, the school should not necessarily expect to be able to identify the staff members' grade level, what they teach, whether they were here on certain days or other days, whether they have a specific type of schedule, or even their name. We're only able to say that we have a positive case in schools. We can identify those positive cases as a staff member or a student and give at least a little bit of information and let you know if they're an A day or B day student. But other than that, we really can't disclose anything. So then beyond that, if there's a positive case at school, what will you know? So the first reminder is, remember HIPAA first. We can only share what we're authorized to share by the federal government. If a positive case is discovered in school or on the school bus, Staff and parents will be notified with a letter from my office, letting them know that there has been a positive case in school. This usually happens once contact tracing is either complete or nearly complete. You have to remember that sometimes contact tracing might be complete within the school setting, but if it's a student, that student may have had interactions with others outside of school at a sporting event, at a club, at Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or something like that, perhaps after school. So although maybe the school will send notice out to staff and parents that contact tracing is nearly complete, there may be others that are contacted within school, but it's completely unrelated to any transmission within our school. The building staff and the parents of the building or the bus where the positive case appears will be notified. So we have in the past sent it out to just the school and just the community where the positive case occurs. If there is a positive case and the child is riding the bus, I imagine sending letters out to our larger school community because of the potential that perhaps more folks may need to know that that a positive case was identified and the child traveled on the school bus. So when will you know more beyond these two things? Teachers and staff may need to assist with contact tracing. So we've had staff members that took place, were part of the contact tracing and were questioned about their whereabouts and their contact with children. If you come in close contact with the positive case, you may be contacted even outside of the school. So parents, other students may be contacted by the health department independent of the school based off of an event after school, a Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts or a sporting event. And you may be contacted by the health department for some other reason. So that's when you may know more information. If you are somehow closely related to a positive case at school, you'll find out more. So staying at home, when should I stay home? We talked about quarantine a little bit, but here are some specific circumstances about staying at home. If you are a positive COVID-19 case, stay at home. If you have come in close contact or if you were a household contact of someone who is a positive case, you have to stay at home. If you were experiencing symptoms listed on our insurance checklist, so both staff and students have an insurance checklist they fill out in the morning before they come to work. If you're experiencing those symptoms, you should stay home. And don't forget, for staff members, they should also contact their building principal or their direct supervisor if they are staying home. This is where it's important to remember your baseline health. The school nurses have created a video. They have sent out notification to the staff. We have sent out letters to parents saying, just consider, parents, your child's health. Staff, consider your own health, right? If you wake up in the morning and you happen to be fatigued, but you recognize that you were up late the night before, maybe you were at a board meeting or something like that, and you're a little tired, well, that might be your normal baseline for the day after a board meeting. If it's Friday morning and you're getting up and you're like, wow, it's been a really long week and you're a little fatigued, that might be your normal baseline. So if you're a parent or if you're a staff member, when filling out those assurance checklists, you want to keep in mind what you know about your body or what you know about your child's body and their physical health when filling out that form. If you're advised by your physician or the Department of Health to quarantine, or simply stay home while contact tracing is underway. So your physician may say you really need to stay home based off of certain characteristics that you've discussed with your physician. The Department of Health may tell you to quarantine, or they may say stay home while contact tracing is underway because we may need you to be at home because you might be at medium risk. If you're a close contact of someone who's developed symptoms and was identified as a close contact, go back to that graphic. This means if you are person C, right, and person B has now developed symptoms, you should stay at home and get yourself tested. And then finally, if you've traveled to a restricted state or country of high transmission, the New Jersey Department of Health updates their list all the time. I want to say that there were quite a few states on the list when I checked today. I want to say approximately 40 states or regions on the list today. If you travel to one of those regions, you need to quarantine for 14 days. These are places that have been identified as places of high transmission. Staying home, I think I should stay home, but I'm not quite sure. So there are certain circumstances that may seem like you should stay home, but you actually don't need to. So remember, if you've come in contact with someone who is quarantined, you don't necessarily need to stay home. There's no restriction on person C. Remember, person C has no restrictions because they're a close contact of a close contact. But remember, if you're in touch with person B and they develop symptoms, that's your trigger to then stay home. If you've been in contact with someone who's asymptomatic but awaiting test results, so if remember, person B is not symptomatic, and you know that they are the close contact and you've been in touch with them, remember, you don't need to quarantine if you've been in contact with someone who's asymptomatic but awaiting test results. Of course, talk to your doctor, call the Department of Health, and if they tell you otherwise, follow the doctor's orders or the direction from the Department of Health. Baseline health, we talked about this briefly. It's the COVID-19 assurance form that staff members and students fill out. So here are some guidelines for you, some more specifics. The questions are asking you to judge your health based off of your personal baseline. Baseline is what you know about your day-to-day health. If you experience certain symptoms on a regular basis, like an asthma cough, this is your baseline. If your cough has changed, that's something that maybe you need to talk to your healthcare provider about. If these symptoms are not your personal baseline, stay at home, follow up with your physician. So for staff, absences in Aesop. So there are a lot of different scenarios for staff when it comes to either being able to work remotely or when you need to quarantine. So scenario number one is if a staff member is quarantined for 14 days and can work remotely. Remember, if you're quarantined, you've contacted your direct supervisor and said, I've been identified as a close contact, I have to quarantine. I can work remotely. Are you okay with that? What should I do? You enter the absence as other in Aesop and you obtain a sub as needed. If the staff member is quarantined for 14 days and cannot work remotely, so there are instances where there is some type of work here in the district where staff members are unable to work remotely. When they need to take off, they need to take off. Enter the absence as other in Aesop, attain a sub if it's needed. Contact Doreen in my office because she will make available for you those FFCRA and emergency paid sick leave days that you're entitled to use during quarantine. If you're ill, meaning you're having symptoms, but you're well enough to work remotely, same thing with students. If they are ill and are going to stay home, they can work remotely. The staff would enter their absence into Aesop. Students would simply stay home and let the main office know that the child is staying home today, but they're still able to participate remotely. If a staff member is ill and unable to work, put your absence in as sick in Aesop and then obtain a sub as needed. If later we find out that it's COVID related, we can then go back and apply those emergency paid sick leaves that staff members are entitled to. And finally, what is FFCRA for the staff? This is the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, and it provides protections under federal law. It's actually an extension of FMLA, federal law. So it can be used in two specific scenarios: caring for others. So this is used when caring for a child whose school is closed due to COVID-19 or caring for someone who's fallen ill and you have to care for them because of COVID-19. And then some kind of personal hardship. If the employee is subject to a quarantine, is unable to work, or if the employee is experiencing symptoms, waiting for a diagnosis of COVID-19 and cannot work remotely, they're entitled to these days and entitled to those emergency paid sick leave act days that we have here in New Jersey. The Reddington Ready Plan does have more complete information. My office has a lot more information and has become really well versed in the types of leaves that are available to staff. So if you need to, please reach out. And finally, I'll just say thank you. And I'll reiterate once again that as we've taken our plan from the summer and we've started to implement it and we're living it, we're coming up with all of these what if scenarios that now we are actually implementing. So this presentation will be part of a greater presentation and a video that we can push out to the staff, as well as to parents in our community, to make sure that we give these reminders about what it's like to come to school and not come to school, work, or attend school as a student during COVID-19. This simply is a presentation to provide understanding and clarity for school and families. Remember, I am certainly not the authority on medical issues and COVID-19. Please, if you have any questions, you can consult your physician or the Department of Health for more information, and I'll open it up to questions that you may have. Let me stop sharing my screen. All right. Any questions from the Board of Ed about anything that was contained in the presentation? And again, we'll put this together in something more comprehensive with a video to send out as well. Okay. I think that's everything. So Mrs. Simon, that completes my superintendent's report. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Okay, folks, we are now open to the public, limited to action items on the agenda. Do we have any questions, Robin? No. Okay.
Nothing in the chat box.
Perfect. All right, correspondence since our last meeting, we had one, and that was regarding learning in Reddington schools. Administrative reports. Can I get a motion to adopt 1.01 to 1.05, please?
So moved, Carol.
Second, Ray.
I heard Ray. Who was the first one?
Carol.
Carol. Thank you. Are there any questions on the items?
The enrollment report, item 1.01, the year-over-year summary is incorrect.
Did you already let Jason know?
I did, and they weren't able to get it fixed before the meeting, so I'm addressing it now. I believe the updated one will be available for next month's meeting.
So are we pulling this, Jason, 1.01?
It's up to you. I mean, everything else is accurate. It's including the months, so it's just a yearly summary. I can adjust it for next meeting, or we can pull it. It's up to you.
It just appeared as a formula error on the bottom left-hand corner. Just so you know, if you take the October 2020 enrollment that appears in the top part of the chart, those numbers are correct. It was just a formula error. So it's completely up to you if you want to, have it revised for next time. But the numbers that appear under October 2020 are in fact correct.
Okay, so we'll leave it and then you'll put it on next time's agenda just to reproof?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
we will. We'll redo it. Yep.
Okay. All right. Anyone have any other comments?
Yeah, this is Eric. I want to see clarification. Item 1.05 states that the board goals are 2020 to 2021, but the attachment says 2020 to 2025. And I just wanted to see clarification there.
Yeah, these are our strategic planning goals. The three main goals were developed when we did strategic planning. So the mission statement and the 3 district goal components were developed for the long term, right up until 2025. What we did is we added a COVID goal for this year, and then added some bullet points underneath the district goals of what we can accomplish for this year.
Oh, okay. Because when I read this, when I read the attachment, it said to 2025, and I just said, I hope we're not dealing with COVID restart and response until 2025.
No, I hope not too, Eric, and I will clarify and say I hope that goal is gone next year. But that's the only one for this year. All of the other ones are long-term strategic planning goals.
Any other questions or comments? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Yes, Anthony, just so you remember, you can say yes, no, or abstain. Ray Egbert.
Yes.
Anthony Hammond.
Abstain.
Rob McCallan.
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski.
Yes.
Andrew Saunders.
Yes.
Thomas Wallace.
Yes.
Eric Swerling.
Yes.
Carol Hampel.
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
Patrick.
Minutes. Can I get a motion to adopt 2.01, please?
So moved, Carol.
Second, Carolyn.
All right. Any changes needed to the minutes? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Anthony Emmons,
Abstain.
Ron McCallan,
Yes.
Colin Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Waller,
Yes.
Eric Zwirling,
Yes.
Kyle Hampel,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Finance and facilities. Can I get a motion to adopt 3.01 to 3.09?
So moved, Ray.
Second, Tom.
We have a report.
We do. We met on Monday, November 2nd. First item was the 2021 capital projects. Great news, the 3 bridges boilers have been installed. No issues. The staff is, the relative staff have been to receive training on the operations of those boilers. The HPS roof project, still a few punch list items remaining. The Securing Our Children's Future Bond Act is now back in play. The state approved it after being postponed for a while. So the district is, grant application is being updated for a final submission, and the grant will be used for additional school security costs. And then we reviewed other maintenance and IT projects from the summer, actually, that were substantially complete, and the list will be updated for the next budget cycle. As previously discussed, the RMS well E. coli update, we were waiting on the New Jersey Department of Protection, right? DEP has approved the budget project with a November 12th deadline, so we're butting up against that now. The equipment is expected to receive last week, and installation will begin upon receipt. Facility use. The committee had a lengthy discussion concerning facility use by outside groups and district sport teams. External groups are unable to use the district facilities consistent with the Reddington plan, and additional information will be gathered for district sports teams before a final decision will be made. Minimum wage mandatory adjustment. The New Jersey minimum rate will increase on January 1st, 2021, which will require an increase to the secretarial substitute rate. Other substitute rates will be reviewed during the 21-22 budget process. For budget updates, the district could possibly receive additional funds from the CARES SSER grant. However, this amount and the likelihood of receiving funding is unknown. The district received an additional $31,732 through extraordinary aid. This will be held in fund balance to be used in the 21-22 budget. The committee received a preliminary update of open enrollment responses related to the new employee health care plan. The open enrollment deadline is November 13th. The committee received an update on the new healthcare plan from New Jersey, and a cleanup bill will probably be passed to clarify components in the new plan. We also, as usual in the past few meetings, reviewed the list of additional COVID expenses. The additional costs currently amount to approximately $122,000, and Mr. Boehm continues to monitor the list. And of course, most items are not budgeted. The largest amounts that could be a concern right now is long-term substitutes needed to fill staff accommodations. Food service bid. The committee received a summary of the Green Committee recommendations for bid specifications for the upcoming food service bidding process, and there's no recommendation currently. Through federal funding, students can now receive breakfast that is free to the students. The breakfasts are being delivered to students who currently receive lunch deliveries. At the time, we discussed the polling location. I think it was the very next day after our committee meeting. Basically, through Governor Executive Order 177, the district was required to provide a polling location, and that was HBS for the November 3rd election. Finance agenda items are normal in nature. Committees recommend approval of all. Bills lists are normal in nature, other than the substitute weight adjustment. The proprietary vendor, which is Sonatrol, was approved already but needs updated, and the RMS well number 2 emergency contract. And the committee is recommending approval of all items. Next meeting planned for December 4th. And that's it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Are there any questions on the minutes or the agenda items? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Anthony Emmons,
Sorry, abstain.
Rob McCallum,
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yes.
Eric Swirling,
Yes.
Carol Hampel,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
We have education technology. Can I get a motion to adopt 4.01 to 4.06?
So moved, Ray.
Second, Tom.
Thank you. We have a report.
We do. Sorry, I forgot to send it out. So I sent it a few minutes ago. Sorry. So the committee met on November 3rd. We started off with a CAP update by Christine Creeley. So CAP is the Child Assault Prevention Program. So all teachers participated in training on the CAP program. It was also offered to parents at a virtual parent training in October. There are additional resources available on our counselor's website. The middle school will have student workshops through January. The motto of the CAP program is students should feel safe, strong, and free. And the program will also help teach self-advocacy skills. Second item, the TCNJ Professional Development Network Agreement. We have that on the agenda for approval. Workshops are up and running. It's for November 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2023. And the cost was reduced by approximately 15% because of COVID, I believe. The Technology Ambassadors Program. And this was a position created in response to virtual learning and recommended by the Road Back in the Department of Ed document. It is a grade level point person for technology best practices. So in our district, we have 9 total ambassadors, and there will be 4 meetings throughout the year to share information. We're considering this a pilot year to determine if we want to continue with this position beyond the virtual learning environment. SEL updates. There are wellness check-ins once weekly in November, February, and April during academic support at RMS, and the homeroom teachers are doing the check-ins in K through 5. It's a Google questionnaire looking to identify students who need support and looking for trends in the months in between the questionnaire. We have 4 parent events throughout the year for SEL, and the committee is working with the student voice on the events. The next one is November 18th, next week. The topic is self-awareness and self-management and how parents can help support with children at home. Next up is a research proposal from Matt Hall, who's a supervisor at Central. It has to do with STEM instruction and teacher beliefs on how that affects student knowledge. It will involve interviews with teachers, students are not involved, and we recommend approval of the research project. The committee agreed to delay a decision on winter sports. Special education and reopening. Currently, only self-contained classrooms are in school 4 days. We are working on bringing back students with behavior plans and one-on-one aids, as well as students in resource centers, beginning in very small numbers based on the current COVID situation. Next, we had a discussion regarding equity, diversity, and inclusion. The potential of working with the high school on their diversity committee and how we can utilize that information and how do we make their framework fit into our SEL program. Also, revisions have been made to current curriculum documents and include SEL standards in the classroom discussions. And there was a discussion regarding questions that arise from parents and the need for the parents to discuss any issues with teachers in order to understand the conversations. There were 5 texts brought up related to contributions of the LGBTQ community and persons with disabilities. Those are all on the agenda for approval today. iPad deployment for kindergarten. We are swapping out the iPads from the Chromebooks. The teachers wanted them easier for the students to be learning with iPads as opposed to keyboards. And the goal is to have them distributed in December. And our next meeting is on Monday, November 30th at 8:30 a.m.
Thank you. Are there any questions on the report or the agenda items? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert.
Yes.
Anthony Emmons.
I'm going to say yes on this one.
Ron McLaurin.
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski.
Yes.
Andrew Saunders.
Yes.
Thomas Wallace.
Yes.
Eric Swirling.
Yes.
Carol Hample.
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Personnel. Can I get a motion to adopt 5.01 to 5.08?
So moved,
So moved.
Carolyn.
Second, Carol.
And then Carol. All right, we have a report.
We do have a report. So Personnel Committee met on November 2nd, and we discussed the following items: staffing, reopening and current protocols, the Reddington Commons development, discussion of equity, diversity, and inclusion. We discussed the substitute rates in the new minimum wage law, other personnel matters, agenda items of board goals, substitute hires, and transfers. And we scheduled the next meeting for December 4th.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
Are there any questions on the minutes or the agenda item? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert.
Yes.
Anthony Emmons.
Sorry, abstain.
Ron McLaurin.
Yes.
Carolyn Pogorski.
Yes.
Andrew Saunders.
Yes.
Thomas Wallace.
Yes.
Eric Swirling.
Yes.
Carol Hample.
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
Passes.
Communications. Can I get a motion to adopt 6.01, please?
So moved, Tom.
Tom?
Second, Ray.
Ray? We have a report.
Yes, we do. Pulled up here. We met back on October 19th. Finished off Policy Alert 220, dealing with policy and regulation on suspension. It includes a meeting required to be held upon reentry to school. It's a mandated policy. Policy 5620 on expulsion. It included language on zero tolerance policies. Again, a conduct meeting upon reentry, and that one is mandated as well. Our next policy alert included administrative employment contracts. Rescinding and issuing of new administrative contracts must hold a public hearing. It abolishes a salary cap, and this one is mandated as well. Policy in regards to athletic competition and regulation, emergency procedures for sports and other athletic activity. The name was a little bit different on the regulation. Its emergency plan needed to be added. Supervisory positions to be trained. It is mandated. Practices are under review for compliance with both policy and regulation. Policy in regards to emergency and crisis situations. It includes substitutes on emergency protocol training. It's mandated. Reddington is actually quite ahead of this one as we began training our substitutes last year. Garden State Coalition update. Topics included educator evaluation and the need for clarification, the need for guidance regarding snow days, and guidelines for continued school operations amid the pandemic. Their next meeting was October 28th. Handle with care directive. Police have the obligation to inform school of traumatic incidents involving school-age children in the community. Our tentative press releases with topics, and our next meeting is to be determined.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions on the report or the items on the agenda? Not hearing any. Can I get a roll call, please?
Ray Egbert.
Yes.
Anthony Emmons.
Abstain.
Ron McKalen.
Yes.
Colin Bogorski.
Yes.
Andrew Saunders.
Yes.
Thomas Waller.
Yes.
Eric Swirling.
Yes.
Carol Hamble.
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
Thank you.
Unfinished business. Does anyone want to share their experience with the annual workshop?
Mrs. Simon, the only thing I'll say is that it was the benefit of the virtual workshop was some of the administrative team, some of the supervisors were able to attend some of the sessions, which was really nice. I think there were some that the administrative team reported to me that they really enjoyed. So being able to watch it in the comfort of your office was kind of convenient this year.
Yeah, excellent.
I'd say on the plus side too, we've got access to those videos for a year. So I kept trying to cram in like 2-3 in a day, and I'd zone out and not, after staring at a screen for 2 hours in a row, I was about done for the third. So it's nice to be able to go back and use them again later.
Agreed. Anyone else want to share? No? Okay. Do you have any other unfinished business you want to bring up? Okay. New business from the board. Eric, would you like to discuss the green minutes?
Yes, we had a meeting October 20th. The first update that we were given was by Jody Betterman, the outgoing energy efficiency coordinator. We now have a new energy software management program called SiteWatch. In it, we have created, she has created a new energy baseline year, which is June 2018 to June 2019, which now includes the solar panels. The old baseline year was 2011 to 2012. Anything going forward now is based upon the new data that we have. One of the other benefits of this new baseline year is that it's aligned with the fiscal year, which is going to make comparisons much easier and budgeting easier. Now talking about the usage, spring 2020 showed COVID school closing effect on electric usage, which though obviously benefited our bills, hopefully that will not be repeated. Net gas usage also dropped. In this year, the first year that we have data for, there was a $44,000 energy savings compared to the new baseline year. The solar installations at the 3 schools that have them, Hollenbrook, the middle school, and 3 Bridges, totaled 38% of the district's total energy usage. At Hollenbrook, it was 87% of the contracted production. There were some production issues at that location. And at the middle school and 3 Bridges, they were at 103% of the contracted production amount. There is a 5-year true-up period, so whatever production issues they may have had at Hollenbrook, they do have a total of 5 years to make it up on average. The energy program transition is underway. As I stated, Ms. Betterman is exiting that position, so the transition is now underway. There are grants that are being closed out right now. There was, and so they are on extension. For instance, at 3 Bridges there's the Tower Gardens. The White House has they're going to be putting in water to the gardens.
And there was also the Sustainable Jersey Small Grant Program from the Gardner Environmental Grant Fund. They have that grant is for power monitors, and that ties directly into the SiteWatch management software. So that's exciting that we're now being able to tie that directly into the monitoring software. Sustainable Jersey for Schools recertification is up this year, and there was some discussion about whether to have the students involved in the application process. That would be obviously an exciting opportunity for them to get involved. Betsy Freeman, the incoming coordinator for sustainability, she talked about green initiatives and the sustainability programs. It's hard to condense. She gave a very lengthy presentation. It was talking about strategic planning for sustainability. There was discussion about regenerative systems. She discussed a conference that she and Superintendent Hart attended. It was a conference in New York City, but it was it was an international virtual conference on youth leadership and shared action. There were people from literally, I saw people from Pakistan, all over the world were attending that. It was, I believe it was quite an honor for the district to be represented at that event. There was mission and strategic goals were discussed, empowering the members, cultivate spirit of discovery, embrace connections. There was a discussion of proposed sustainable community goals with curricular and extracurricular activities that advance environmental literacy and sustainability. Stewardship and service learning, sustainable facility design and management, health, well-being, cultural competency, strong partnerships, and networks. So there was discussion about, how she would proceed from here in her new position. Capital projects update was given by Don Race. He talked about the lighting upgrades at White House and Three Bridges, and also the work that was done at the middle school cafeteria. The LED changeouts at they were all completed, I should say. The Three Bridges boiler, that obviously Ray has already talked about that. They're up and running. We're going to be comparing the gas usage going forward. When that equipment was spec'd, it is new equipment, so we should have some energy efficiencies there. The well, there was discussion about the well, the remediation for the coliform bacteria that was in the well, and that has been replaced. We also found out that thankfully the bid, was also discussed earlier. This was not part of the green agenda, but we now understand that the replacement was significantly less expensive than we anticipated. The 2021 to 2022 capital project timeline process, budget season is approaching. If anybody has any ideas, it was suggested to send those to Don. We discussed the national, behind, for those who don't know, behind Hollenbrook, there is an area that is being used to remediate, to make up for the land, for the scrub woods that were taken out for the solar array. Jason and I walked it to look at it and see what the condition of the planting was. That the plants that the contractor put in have by and large survived. We discussed in the meeting what the uses for that area would be going forward, whether there would be any use for classroom possibilities. It doesn't seem as if that option is being pursued, but we do want to pursue getting National Wildlife Federation schoolyard habitat certification. In order to do that, water needs to be available, for the wildlife to drink. There was a discussion of some simple methods, capturing rain and providing it through some pumps. Ms. Freeman was talking about some various options of pumping the water or just having it simply gravity fed. So there was some discussion about that. There was discussion about upcoming bids for the food service management program in January and February, and that we've discussed reusable materials. Again, could we use washing forks and knives as opposed to disposables, evaluate equipment for space consideration. There was also discussion of whether there could be composting of all the waste that comes out of all of the dining halls, whether or not there is a commercial facility that is available to handle all that waste. Ms. Freeman is going to be attending an inter-school meeting to discuss waste with other schools and see what they're doing. The next meeting is going to be held on December 17th, 2020, at which time I'm going to be bringing up a subject that's in line with in preparation for this meeting that we're holding today. I looked at the board at the website, trying to see what we have on the website as far as the green initiatives that we have. And while we have while the middle school has a very extensive page, their Go Green page, it was put together by the Green team. The district website has a very small presence talking about energy efficiency, which reflects our efforts from a year or two ago. And I intend to bring up, consistent with the board goal, number one, which is to improve and enhance communication. And one of the things is to emphasize sustainability and greening initiatives. And I discussed this prior to this to the meeting with Jason. That the websites, we could have websites at each of the schools that discuss what each of the schools individually is doing, some of the initiatives that they're involved in. But we as a district have now won Green Ribbon Awards, National Green Ribbon Awards. We are a true leader, and we could put forth on our website not just information that is usable for students, but one that's also useful to teachers, to other administrators, to building principals, to facility managers, to a host of other people who could look to us as the true national example that we are. And we could even post, for instance, the applications that we submitted for the Green Ribbon Awards. I looked at one of them. I don't remember exactly which school it was, and I was absolutely amazed at the amount of work that the district is doing at that one school. And I think that it could be to serve as a clarion call for other districts. And we could, when we go to conferences, we could put up the PowerPoints on that website. It could be something where at meetings, when Dr. Hart is representing the district, he could simply say, look, here's my card, here's the website, and you can spend some time, brew a pot of coffee and have a good time looking at what we have there. So we're going to discuss that in the Green Committee, and I think that we have an opportunity to really put forth a national presence in this. And that is my report.
Thank you, Eric. Are there any questions on the minutes of the Green team? No? Okay. We're now open to the public. Anything on or off the agenda? Any questions? I don't see anything. Nope. Okay. Motion to adjourn.
So moved, Carol.
Carol?
Second
I'm always good for that one.
Who seconds?
Okay, Ray.
All of us.
Ray?
Yep.
Roll call, please.
Ray Egbert,
Yes.
Anthony Emmons,
Yes.
Len McClellan,
Yes.
Carolyn Bogorski,
Yes.
Andrew Saunders,
Yes.
Thomas Wallace,
Yep.
Eric Whirling,
Yes.
Carol Hampel,
Yes.
Laura Simon.
Yes.
We are adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And thank you also for starting the evening earlier for all of the interviews and everything. So definitely got a lot done tonight.
Thank you, everybody.
And
Welcome,
welcome,
Anthony.
Anthony.
Welcome,
Thanks,
Anthony.
Pleasure
Gotta
meeting
get
everybody.
fun.
Good night.
Have a good night.